Hello and welcome to BrewCast, a podcast initiative by Brew My Brand. This is Season 2. BrewCast in the voice of AV Speaks, because every brand deserves a voice. So come closer and listen in. Let's brew something beautiful, beyond the brand into the human. This is BrewCast, where the real stories begin. This episode is brought to you by Brew My Brand in collaboration with AV Creates. Our prime impact partners Sukripa and Zekiofin.com. Our community impact partner Harith Avani. There is a particular kind of silence that arrives when you know something you love is about to end. Not because it has ended, but because you know tomorrow it will. Imagine a room, quiet, familiar, and in that room, a uniform, neatly ironed, waiting. The medals are in place, the ribbons exactly where they should be, the creases sharp, the shoulders still carrying the shape of 31 years. For most people, it is simply a uniform, but for Peter, it was home. He had never really put it away, even on vacation. He would hang it in his room, somewhere he could see it. He didn't have to wear it, he only had to know it was there. Because sometimes you don't need to wear something to feel that it is still a part of you. And then came May, his birthday month. But that year, May arrived differently. It carried a celebration and a goodbye in the same breath. Because this was the month in which Peter would have to do something he had spent years dreading. Take off the uniform. For the last time. And suddenly there was a last time. And then that night came. He couldn't take it off. Not yet. He wanted to wear it, to feel it one last time. And so he did. He slept in his neatly ironed uniform, perhaps hoping that night would somehow extend forever, because when morning came, life would never be the same again. This is BrewCast Season 2 and our premiere episode, The Stars That Stayed, Chapter 1, Every Wish Made. A conversation with Colonel J. Peter Celestine. Some goodbyes cannot be completed in a single day. They have to be lived through one day at a time. But before there was a goodbye, there was a wish, a boy, a dream, a struggle, a calling, and a life that would take 31 years to unfold.
As a little boy, what I was really searching for? I was searching for a life and a career where I was intimately aware that that's where my heart really belonged to. Fly fighter planes, be a top-notch fighter pilot, to be a test pilot of great repute, an experimental test pilot, and to live my life in military aviation. That is what I longed for. That is what I wanted to be. That was, at that time, as a little boy, I felt was my entire life. It was something ultimate. It was everything to me.
A soldier, a leader, a husband, a father, an artist, and a son who always looked up to his father. But before he became all of these, there was simply a boy looking up at the sky. A boy fascinated by aviation, by aircraft, by the dream of becoming a fighter test pilot. Perhaps every calling begins like that, not as an answer, but as a fascination we cannot quite explain. Dreams don't always arrive with a straight road attached to them. Sometimes they ask us to struggle for them, to fail, to begin again, to work, to wait, and to keep going, even when nobody can promise us that we'll make it. Before the uniform, there was simply a young man trying to find his way towards a dream. And somewhere along that road, a dream became something larger, a calling. But every calling has its moments of doubt. Before Peter entered the army, there was failure, an examination that didn't go his way, and then a second attempt.
Never ever give up on yourself. That is exactly what went on my mind when the results were declared and I could not clear the Combat Defense Service exams on my first attempt. That was in July of 1993, barely a couple of months after I finished college. I knew my flaws. I knew I was weak in mathematics, and it was very important for me to get over this obstacle and to clear it. And there were no other options. One had to work hard, one had to plan out everything, and you had to go for the kill. There was no two ways about it. There was no options left. In fact, there were no options at all. So I worked out everything and I said, I cannot give up at this time. I have to keep going.
And then came years of struggle, a one-page resume, a garment showroom, long working hours, starting through the night, a young man who kept moving without any guarantee that the door he was knocking on would ever open.
When you are acutely aware that ultimately in the end it is you and you yourself all alone, a lot of things settles into your life. You come to terms with a whole lot of things. In fact, stark realities of your own life. You accept it. And what kept me going was my strong will and passion to join the academy and to become an officer, because that is the career which I wanted to live my life. That is what I wanted to be. And when you are driven by passion and a strong willpower, let's keep aside your flaws, your weakness in studies, you being an average student, which I was all my life. I was a below average student. That's a fact. And I had lots of passion and I had a great willpower and I had the ability to do a lot of hard work. And I think these are the factors that ultimately gave me the go. It gave me the fuel to overcome all my flaws and weaknesses, and that guaranteed my success ultimately in the end.
But a calling is only the beginning. The army would demand something in return: discipline, perseverance, endurance, and the willingness to keep going when everything inside you says enough. Peter grew up with a simple philosophy: nothing comes easy. Whatever you want, you have to work for it.
Whatever I wanted, it came the hard way. And that's a fact. It's a fact. And once I joined the academy as a cadet, life at the academy is a different level altogether. You are a cadet, you're training, you have academics, you have physicals, you have so much of practicals, and all in 1 year, you got to work really hard to prove yourself. And you have so many fellow cadets with you there. So you start facing challenges, you start dealing with challenges, you start learning how to cope with challenges, with hardship, and it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot. And the Indian Army is nothing as its own way of throwing challenges. It is not easy. You really have to work very hard to prove yourself. Not only in the academy as an officer cadet, it's all throughout your career, irrespective of how many years you've served and what rank you've achieved. It is a very, very challenging profession. It has got its unique challenges, and you have to face it. You have to live up to the challenges. You have to prove yourself every day. There is no question of stepping back or giving up. You have to prove yourself. And as an organization, you learn a lot from the Indian Army, beyond any doubt. It is a wonderful kind of an organization.
Training can teach discipline. Experience can teach endurance. But courage, perhaps, is something else altogether.
I would say that there are two types of courage. One is your moral courage and one is your physical courage. Moral courage is the ability to stand up for what is factual. You take a stand for something which is morally right, and you never waver in that, even if it means you're going to put a lot of things at stake. You still stand by it, and you live by it. You speak up for yourself, you speak up for the others, what is rightfully yours or rightfully theirs, or what is correct. Physical courage is like a soldier in war. He knows that death is imminent, and despite that, he takes his orders from his superiors and he goes forward to execute the given task. He does not care whether he's going to lose his life or whether he's going to come back alive. He obeys his superior's orders and he moves forward. You don't question orders. You just go straight and you implement, you fulfill the task. I honestly have had both in my life. I have stood up for what is right, what is morally correct, and whenever and wherever necessary, I have showed brute courage, and I'm really proud about it. And courage is something which I felt has developed over many years as far as I'm concerned. It has developed over a period of time. It was not that I was born with a lot of courage and born fearless. No, I wouldn't say that. Over the years, situations and a lot of happenings in my life shaped me into what I am. Way back in July of 1998, I was aware that driving from place A to place B, when I was given this task, I was well aware that driving in daytime during daylight between place A and place B means certain death. I was aware of it. Certain death. But despite that, and having received orders to proceed, I proceeded. And before I started moving from point A, I was aware that before reaching point B, something is going to happen. Something is going to happen, even to an extent of losing my own life. But I still went ahead with that. I still went ahead, and those 200, 300 odd meters was a real drive of my life. I can never forget it even today. But yes, I had adequate courage, and I just went through it. It surprised me it does surprise me even years later when I think about that incident.
And sometimes, in the moments when we have the least control, we discover what we've always held on to.
Before I embarked on the task which was given to me during my tenure in Kashmir in '98, as always, I would read, I would say a short prayer, say around 2 minutes, and read the Bible. But on that day, when this very dangerous firing incident took place, which really costed my life, it resonates even today when I think about it. The Bible verses were very clearly telling me that no matter what hell you go through, I'll be with you. So when I encountered the situation, and after everything had got over, and even in the coming years, today when I reflect on it, I had a very powerful hand that held me. It held me very tightly, and it saved me. I believe in that, and I will continue to believe in that. And not only me, it saved my men as well. We were 3 of us who were going on that mission. All 3 of us would have died, beyond doubt. It would have been a very violent death, so to say. But today when I reflect on those words, the passage of the Bible which I read, there was a very strong hand which held me throughout. And it is the same hand which continued to hold me throughout my career in the army.
Sometimes faith isn't something we consciously reach for. Sometimes it reaches for us. 31 years in uniform is a lifetime of decisions, some ordinary, some difficult, and some where the distance between duty and danger can disappear in a moment.
There are times when, as a commander, you have to take a decision, and you don't have all the necessary inputs or answers. You decide and act and do what is best at that given time with whatever available resources and irrespective of the situation. You decide and you go ahead and do your best, keeping the best interests of your men and the task in mind. It teaches you a lot about leadership. And most importantly in this is your ability to take quick decisions, prompt decisions, and ultimately, irrespective of the outcome, whether it's good or bad, you take responsibility for it. You alone take responsibility for it. You don't palm the blame on anybody else. You've taken a decision, you execute it, and ultimately in the end you take responsibility for it. It's as simple as that.
We celebrate leaders for what they achieve, but leadership is rarely about the applause. It is about the weight nobody else sees.
As an officer, as a commander, it is not only your own family, but we are acutely aware of the immense trust that the families have, whose sons and daughters are serving our great nation. They have entrusted their sons and daughters, and they have placed a lot of trust in the organization. And as an officer, as a commander, one has to be acutely aware of it. And it is a responsibility of an officer to make sure that both in times of war and in peace, you genuinely care and look after the well-being and well-being of the men and women who are serving in the army under your command. That is your responsibility. That is your responsibility as a leader. You can't shy away from that. There's no two ways about it. They have families, they have children, they have sisters, they have brothers, they have husbands, wives, and they come from different backgrounds. And you have to be aware of that, and you have to live up to the trust that they have placed in you as a commander. And living up to it, it has to be 100%, beyond any doubt.
Because eventually, every leader discovers that the uniform gives you authority, but character is what gives that authority meaning.
Way back in 98, when I was a youngster, young lieutenant, when I was serving in Kashmir, my brigade commander, then Brigadier Jasbir Singh Lidar, JS Lidar as he was known as, he was the brigade commander. I saw such fascinating qualities of leadership in him, and he really, really enthralled me. I was impressed. He later on went on to become the Director General of Military Operations in later years. And as a youngster, I looked up to him. He was fairly senior in service. He was commanding a brigade at the time. And he was fearless. He was blunt. He was very outspoken. And he took his responsibilities so seriously, and the tasks that were in front of him. And it was not a place to, where one could sit back and relax. It was a very hostile environment. Things were very hot way back in 1998, in the place where we served. He took very bold decisions. And his orders are very, very clear, crystal clear. His orders were very crystal clear. There was no ambiguity in his orders. And whatever he expected of you, he made it amply clear. He made it amply clear what was expected of you, and what he expected as a commander, and what he expected you to do. It was very, very clearly laid out. And he never bothered about what others would think or say. He was so correct, and he was very, very hardcore. He was very ruthless, and that is one of the qualities that I really liked in him. He was ruthless to the core, and he was a fabulous human being. And once he took a decision, he never went back on that. It had to be executed. It had to be executed, and like I said, he took 100% responsibilities for the outcome. And like him, I was also blessed to serve under some very fabulous commanders in the later years of my life. And I was really, really blessed. And each one taught me very, very valuable lessons, which I can never forget in my life.
And then there is the Peter we don't see in uniform. The artist, the painter, the horse rider, the gardener, the man who designed and built his own home, the child who once sat at a railway station sketching steam engines on a slate and remembering their colors after they disappeared from sight. Because perhaps there was always more to Peter than the soldier, more than the commander, more than the colonel.
With all that I am, a painter, rider who paints and who builds, who creates, and when nobody needs me to be an officer or a husband or a father or a leader, ultimately at the end of the day, I am my own self. At the end of the day, I disconnect myself. I de-link myself, and I am my own self. So that is where I really thrive being in at the end of the day.
During our conversation, Peter said something particularly striking. I prove myself to myself.
I have spent my entire life, ever since I was a kid, that's the way it has been, proving myself to my own self. And I wouldn't say that I have been 100% perfect. I've had my flaws, yes, beyond any doubt. But I've been happy most of the time of the outcomes of whatever I've done. And at the end of the day, you're answerable to your own self. That's about it. You're answerable to your own self. You have to prove yourself to your own self. Why do you have to prove yourself to anybody else? Is what I've always asked myself, and that's the way I have been.
No soldier serves alone. There are always people standing quietly behind the uniform. A mother, a wife, a child, a family, learning to live with absence. Peter speaks with deep gratitude about the women who carried that invisible weight. His mother, Rosalind, who gave him the softness that balanced a difficult father, and his wife, Mala, who carried the home through years of postings, separation, and uncertainty.
I've never had an easy childhood. I'm acutely aware of it. And all through these years, especially the younger years when I was a kid, the tough times, the tough life, the very tough situations I've been through, I was not privileged. And not being privileged teaches you a lot. It puts you through the grind, and it makes you strong, because you become acutely aware of one fact, that ultimately, in the end, it is you, your own self, and nobody else is going to be with you.
While Peter wore the uniform, they carried the family and some sacrifices, never received medals.
All serving men and women in uniform have proudly carried their families in their hearts, be it their husbands, their wives, their siblings, their sons, their daughters, their parents. That includes me as well during my years in service. I very dearly carried them with me wherever I went, and likewise it is the same with all serving men and women in uniform. In the most remotest of deployments, in the most difficult of circumstances, they've always held their families very close to their hearts. And if the uniform could speak to the families, it is, I would say, it has always been very reassuring. It has been a source of courage, it has been a source of strength, and it has been a source of reassurance and a source of hope that nothing as regards their serving sons and daughters, nothing will go in vain or has gone in vain.
The boy had made his wish. The young man had earned it, and the soldier had lived it. 31 years, one life, every wish made. A dream had become a calling had become a life, and that life had shaped the man Peter became. A son, a husband, a father, a leader, a soldier, a man. But some dreams become so much a part of us that we don't know who we are without them. And then comes the hardest part, letting go. This episode was brought to you by Brew My Brand in collaboration with AV Creates. Our prime impact partners Sukripa and Zekyofin.com. A community impact partner Harit Avani.